funding for Lost Twin Cities 3 is made possible by the State Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.
America's Aqua Follies at Minneapolis, a magnificent array of mermaids.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cinerama.
There was nothing like this anyplace else in the world. This was going to movies in the round.
There was more tragedy as a swollen Mississippi River, fed by overflowing tributaries, rose a foot every 4 hours.
We lost a piece of our history, and in many ways a piece of who we were.
It was two different worlds coming together, and who would have thought that would result in such a legacy?
In our obsession with bigger, better, newer, faster, we sometimes forget to look back and appreciate the people and places that contributed to the unique character of our urban landscape. In the next hour, we'll explore the vibrant history of some of the vanished places that helped form our collective identity. Join us as we visit some familiar and some surprising past chapters of the place we call home. Martinis, peppered ribeye steak, shrimp cocktail, and Cherries Jubilee, one of Minneapolis's most popular and most controversial statues, and a secret potato salad recipe. These are all hallmarks of what was one of the most beloved restaurants in the Midwest.
Charlies Cafe Exceptionale. Everybody who was anybody who came to Minneapolis ended up at Charlies. That was where you went.
An institution for almost 50 years, the original Charlies opened in 1933 in this unassuming building at 7th Street and 4th Avenue South, what was then the edge of downtown Minneapolis. The restaurant was named after one, or maybe both, of its original owners, Charles Saunders and Charles Hurlin. Hurlin, known as Charlie the Finn, the inventor of many of the restaurant's signature drinks, died the next year. The other Charlie, Saunders, continued on. A man's man, a pilot, and racehorse owner, Saunders was rumored to have started out in the bootlegging business. If the restaurant didn't make it, he purportedly had a backup plan, to turn it into a funeral parlor. Luckily, for those still in need of earthly sustenance, Charlies Cafe Exceptionale thrived. It did so well that in 1946, Saunders bought a lot across the street and began building a larger building that was specifically suited to his restaurant's needs. This new, luxurious Charlies would become legendary. You walked into a 2.5-story reception area with a dramatic wrought iron spiral staircase. You could dine in the oak-paneled main dining hall or one of 7 additional private dining rooms. The restaurant had its own on-site butcher shop, bakery, laundry, wine cellar, and liquor room. And yes, there were bars aplenty, including a fireplace cocktail lounge, a padded piano bar, and Charlie's famous main bar.
About 75 feet of bar, curved. The way bars were done then was to curve, so you had conversational nooks. You're able to see all the way down and see the faces of the glitterati and the women and the men at the bar. The leather-covered diamond inlays on the front of the face of the bar, it's what made Charlie's Bar distinctive. These woods, the heavy mahoganies are no longer, can't be found, they can't be harvested.
John Remarchik, owner of the Monte Carlo Bar and Cafe, salvaged the famous bar, including its other memorable feature, the handmade frieze that ran along the back.
Wonderful caricatures of witches and witches brewers and anything that may be related in the remotest fantastical way to making drinks. And if you had a couple of sidecars or a couple Manhattans, they actually came to life.
The outside of the new English Tudor-style restaurant was also distinctive. To further add to its cachet, Charlie Saunders imported one of the city's most famous statues. Her name was Scherzo. She was the creation of New York sculptor Harriet Frischmuth. Frischmuth, whose work is in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, studied with the great French sculptor Auguste Rodin. The bronze statue was originally commissioned by Wilbur Fauché as part of his grand vision for the first skyscraper in Minneapolis, the Fauché Tower. Scherzo was first unveiled in 1929 during elaborate opening day festivities, which included commissioned music composed and conducted by John Philip Sousa. Mr. Fauché's $20,000 check to Sousa subsequently bounced, but that's another story. After standing for 19 years in the Fauché courtyard, the winsome nymph would make her way some 3 blocks southeast to welcome diners to Charlie's. In her new, less cloistered location, she would be more visible to the public. But not everyone in the community was pleased by this news. "Inasmuch as this statue is nude," wrote the pastor of the nearby First Covenant Church in a letter to Saunders, "it will be bound to offend the moral senses of masses of our Minneapolis citizens, particularly our community of church people. I am wondering if it would not be a thoughtful and understanding move on your part to reconsider." Charlie Saunders did not reconsider. But perhaps the pastor would be pleased to know that in the ensuing years, an annual tradition was instituted by nearby nurses. As the inimitable Dave Moore once wrote, "Not unlike the barges breaking the ice in Duluth Harbor and the releasing of the seals at the Como Zoo, the frolicking of the St. Barnabas nurses at Charlie's has been a pre-spring ritual to which we have all looked forward." After winning a series of national awards in the 1950s, Charlies Cafe Exceptionale became famous across the country. Bob Hope ate there. Heavyweight champion Jack Dempsey ate there. President Richard Nixon ate there. But the celebrity who was memorialized at Charlie's was local.
Cedric Adams, who was the famous longtime columnist and then radio newscaster, had a sandwich named after him, the Cedric Adams sandwich that came with a sauce and so forth.
The capon sandwich and a rich, creamy mushroom sauce was a big hit. But few dishes in the history of Twin Cities cuisine have achieved the legendary status of Charlie's most coveted dish.
The potato salad, just unbelievable potato salad.
The potato salad was such a draw that Charlie kept the recipe a proprietary secret for the rest of his life. When he died of a heart attack in 1964 and his wife Louise took over the restaurant, she did the same.
And Louise never would say.
Though she wouldn't reveal the actual recipe, she did give her friend Barbara a clue.
What she told me was that the thing that made it so unusual was that they made their own mayonnaise. It was a beautiful, beautiful potato salad.
Good not only at keeping secrets, Charlie's new owner was a former speed skater, talented golfer, and one of the first women in the Twin Cities to become a partner in a law firm. Though she had never run a restaurant, she kept Charlie's going for the next 20 years, continuing to serve the cuisine the restaurant was known for, which she described as beer, bourbon, and beef. But by the early 1980s, the restaurant landscape in the Twin Cities had changed dramatically. And the physical landscape was changing as well. As downtown Minneapolis grew, skyscrapers were encroaching on the now quaint 2-story restaurant. And developers had their eye on Charlie's. In 1982, 49 years after the 2 Charlies opened their first restaurant, Louise Saunders sold the building at 701 4th Avenue, turning down the option to reopen it in the new glass tower that went up in its place. She said, "I want our customers to remember Charlie's the way it was." John Romarchik plans to reassemble the famous bar and find a new home for it in the Twin Cities. The Scherzo statue, after being on display in the Leamington Hotel until it was torn down, now lives quietly, out of the public eye, in a private home. And no one has ever been able to replicate the famous potato salad.